Therapadana. The Legends of the Theras. Quadna Chapter, the 4th. 31, Quadna. With a pleased heart and happy mind, I went up to the best Buddha, the self-become one, top person, who had spent a week secluded, discerning the time when he'd rise. I approached the sage so great then, Pajamutara, carrying a big sheaf of banana fruits. The Blessed One, World Chief, Great Sage, accepting that fruit I gave him, brought great pleasure to my heart then, by eating it all at that time. Having eaten, the Sambuddha, Peerless One, Caravan Leader, then sitting down on his own seat, did speak these verses about me. Let those spirits who are living in the forest on this mountain, together with those from the past and future, listen to my words. I shall relate the details of this one who served the Buddha well, like a lion, king of the beasts. All of you listen to my words. This one will be a king of gods in the future 11 times, and 34 times he will be a king who turns the wheel of law in 100,000 eons. Arising in Okaka's clan, the one whose name is Gautama will be the teacher in the world. Having cursed some Buddhist monks, arahants who are virtuous then, as the result of that bad deed, he will receive an ugly name, worthy heir to that one's Dhamma, Dhamma's legitimate offspring. He'll be Gautama's follower, known by the name Quadna, binding myself to solitude, meditator, trance lover, satisfying the teacher. Now I'm living without defilements, honored by the monks' assembly, the top followers around him. Buddha sat in that assembly, and had me take the ticket there, putting my robe on one shoulder, and worshipping the world leader, in front of the best debater. I took the first such ticket then. Due to that act, the Blessed One, who makes the 10,000 worlds quake, sitting in the monks' assembly, did place me in that foremost place. My effort bearing the burden brought me release from attachments. Now I'm bearing my last body. In the Buddha's dispensation, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered, I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Quadna Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Venerable Quadna Thera is finished. (32) Sāgata. Back then I was a Brahmin man, known by the name of Sabita. Being honored by my students, I went out to the ashram then, honored by the monks' assembly. Right at that time the Blessed One, setting out from the ashram's door, stood there, the ultimate person. I then saw him, the Sambuddha, tame one with a tamed retinue, bringing pleasure to my own heart. I praised the world leader kindly. Whatever trees that there might be, they all grow up in the firm earth. So too, smart beings all grow up in the victor's dispensation. The caravan leader, O wise one, you do remove many people from the wrong road, lifting them up by declaring the road to them. Tame one surrounded by the tamed, meditator, by trance lovers, by those bent on exertion, and by peaceful ones, by neutral ones, adorned by all your followers. With their virtues, you are splendid. Your light spreads over everything, like the sun when it is rising. Seeing the pleasure in my heart, the great sage Pajamutara, standing in the monks' assembly, the teacher spoke these verses then. I'll relate details of this Brahmin, who has caused joy to be produced for 100,000 eons. He'll delight in the world of gods, falling from Tusita heaven, Incited by his wholesome roots, he will renounce in the blessed 1. Gautama's dispensation. Due to that karma done very well, he will attain arahantship. He'll be the teacher's follower, known by the name of Sāgata. After renouncing, he'll avoid bad karma done with the body, then avoiding bad karma with words, he'll purify his livelihood. I am now living in that way, skilled in the elements of power, knowing well all the defilements. Without defilements I now live. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. This indeed Venerable Sāgata Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Sāgata Thera is finished. (33) Mahā Kaccāna. Covering it over with gold. I had a lion throne fashioned at the shrine known as Paduma of the Lord Pajamuttara, taking an umbrella of gems and a fan made out of ox-tail. I placed them there for that Buddha, the world's kinsman, the neutral one. Throughout the earth the lesser gods all gathered together there then. He'll relate the karmic results of umbrellas and seats of gems. We will listen to all that's said. When the teacher is speaking thus, we will produce great happiness. In the Buddha's dispensation, sitting down on the throne of gold, the self become one, top person, encompassed by the assembly. Then spoke these verses about me. I shall relate details of him who has given this throne to me, made of gold and also of gems. All of you listen to my words. For 30 eons, King of gods, he will exercise divine rule. 100 leagues surrounding him, he will conquer with his bright light. Having come to the human world, he will be a will-turning king. His name will be Pabhasara, and he will possess great power, like the risen 100-rayed sun. Whether it is day or it's night, that Kshatriyan will shine forth there. 8 cubits all around himself, in 100,000 eons. Arising in Okaka's clan, the one whose name is Gautama, will be the teacher in the world. Falling from Tusita heaven, incited by his wholesome roots, he'll be born as Brahma's kinsman. His name will then be Kaccāna. After he renounces the world, he'll be an arahant, undefiled. Gautama, the lamp of the world, will place him in a foremost place. He'll explicate in great detail the problems that are posed in brief. Explicating thus that problem, he will fulfill all their desires. Being born in a wealthy clan, a Brahmin master of mantras, giving up my wealth and grain I then went forth into homelessness. I explicate in great detail the problems posed only in brief. Fulfilling all of their desires, I satisfy the best biped. Satisfied by me, the hero, the self become one, top person, seated in the monk's assembly, did place me in that foremost place. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Mahā Kaccāna Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Mahā Kaccāna Thera is finished. (34) Kundadhāna. Picking a flowering lotus, and water lily and jasmine, and taking some rice cooked in milk, I gave it to the teacher then, to Buddha Pajamuttara, the world's best one, the neutral one, who had gone out upon the road, wandering on journeys back then. At that time the great hero ate that milk rice that's so good to eat, And taking up that lotus flower, he gave it to the people there. This superb lotus is pretty, pleasant and much loved in the world. He who gave this flower to me has done a most difficult deed. I shall relate details of him who offered this flower to me and gave me this rice cooked in milk. All of you listen to my words. For 10 and also 8 more times, he will exercise divine rule. As the result of his karma, in the future there will be born a canopy built in the sky, of lily and of lotuses, which in addition will contain the white flowers known as jasmine. 25 times he will be a king who turns the wheel of law. He will reside upon the earth, and have 500 earthly reigns, in 100,000 eons. Arising in Okaka's clan, the one whose name is Gautama will be the teacher in the world. Delighted by his own karma, incited by his wholesome roots, he will be the Buddha's kinsman, conveying joy to the Sakyans. And he, having renounced the world, incited by his wholesome roots, knowing well all the defilements, will reach nirvana, undefiled. Then Gautama, the world's kinsman, will place him in a foremost place of achieving analysis, and of doing what should be done. Being one bent on exertion, calmed, devoid of grounds for rebirth, he'll be the teacher's follower. His name will be Udayi then. Now my heart is liberated. Ill will has fallen from the mind. Knowing well all the defilements, without defilements I now live. An ardent striver, intelligent, I satisfied the Sambuddha. And the Sambuddha, with delight, did place me in that foremost place. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Kundadhāna Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Kundadhāna Thera is finished. Mogharāja. The Blessed One Athadasi. The Self become one, unconquered. Encompassed by the monks' assembly. Entered the chariot road then. With my students all around me. I then departed from the house. Having gone out I then saw there the Sambuddha, the world leader. Then saluting the Sambuddha, hands pressed together on my head, bringing pleasure to my own heart, I praised the world leader kindly. To what extent beings have form, are formless or are unconscious, all of them are included in the great knowledge that you possess. If one encloses water with a net that is good for fishing, all the creatures in the water would then be caught inside the net. And whoever has intentions, one with form or a formless one, are all of them included in the great knowledge that you possess. You're lifting up this world which is confused by the darkness maker. Having listened to your teaching, they all then cross the flood of doubt. This world's enmeshed in ignorance, covered by the darkness maker. In your knowledge they shine brightly, driving out the darkness maker. That eye of yours, for everyone, is what removes the great darkness. Having listened to your teaching, many folks achieve nirvana. Having filled up a container with a bit of pure bee's honey, picking it up with both my hands, I held it out to the great sage. The great hero, the sage so great, accepted it, with some boiled rice. Eating it, the omniscient one then rose up into the sky there. Teacher Athadasi, man bull, standing up in the atmosphere, bringing pleasure to my own heart, then spoke these verses about me. This one by whom knowledge is praised, and the best Buddha is lauded. due to the pleasure in his heart, will not go to a bad rebirth. He will exercise divine rule. Fully 14 different times then. He will reside upon the earth. With 800 earthly reigns there. And 500 times he will be a king who turns the wheel of law. He will exercise on the earth uncountable regional reigns. A learned man who knows mantras. He will master the 3 Vedas. And then he will renounce the world. In Gautama Buddha's teaching, through his knowledge he'll discover facts which are so deep and subtle. He'll be the teacher's follower, whose name will be Mogharāja, endowed with the 3 knowledges, undefiled, a duty doer. Gautama, the top charioteer, will place him in that foremost place, abandoning my human work, severing the bonds of being, knowing well all the defilements. Without defilements I now live. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Mogharāja Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Mogharāja Thera is finished. 36. Adhimutta. When the world chief Athadasi, the ultimate man, passed away, with a mind that was very clear, I summoned the monks' assembly, inviting the assembly gem, which was upright and well settled, and having built a pavilion, I fed sugar cane to those monks. In whichever womb I'm reborn, whether it's human or divine, I surpass all other creatures. That is the fruit of good karma. In the 1800 eons, since I gave him that gift back then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of sugar cane gifts. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Adhimutta Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Adhimutta Thera is finished. 37. Lasuṇa-dayaka. I was an ascetic back then, not far from the Himalayas. I sustained myself on garlic. Garlic was then my only food. After filling some kuryas, I went to a monastery. I gave the assembly garlic. Happy, and with a happy heart. Giving the assembly garlic. Intent on the dispensation of Vipassi, the top person. I then delighted in heaven. In the 91 eons since, I gave them that garlic back then. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of cloves of garlic. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Lasuṇa-dayaka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Lasuṇa-dayaka Thera is finished. 38. Āyāga-dayaka. When the world's protector had died, Sikhi Buddha, best debater, I worshipped his superb stupa. Happy, and with a happy heart. Having spoken with the workmen, I provided the capital. I constructed an eating hall. Happy, and with a happy heart. After that I lived among gods for 8 eons without a break. In the remaining eons I transmigrated in a mixture. Poisons don't enter my body. Enemies are not hurting me. I do not sink down in water. That's the fruit of an eating hall. A massive cloud rains heavy rain whenever I may wish for it. Even gods visit my dwelling. That is the fruit of good karma. 30 times as will turning kings, possessors of the 7 gems. No one at all despises me. That is the fruit of good karma. In the 31 eons since I had that hall for eating made, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of an eating hall. The 4 analytical modes. And these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Āyāga-dayaka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Āyāga-dayaka Thera is finished. Dhammacakkika. On the front of the lion throne of Siddhartha, the Blessed One, a Dhamma wheel was placed by me, well fashioned, and praised by the wise. I shine, a charming gold color. Have vehicles, army and mounts. Many people attached to me are waiting on me, constantly. I am always attended by 60,000 instruments, beautified by my retinue. That is the fruit of good karma. In the 94 eons since I established that Dhamma wheel, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of a Dhamma wheel. 11 eons after that, there were 8 lords over countries. All were named Sahasrara, will turning kings with great power. The 4 analytical modes. And these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Dhammacakkika Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Dhammacakkika Thera is finished. 40. Kapparukkhiya. Affixing decorated cloth. On the front of the best stupa of Siddhartha, the Blessed One, I set up a wishing tree there. In whichever womb I'm reborn, whether it's human or divine, a wishing tree's established there, making my doorway beautiful. I, along with my retinue, and whoever's attached to me, getting cloth from that wishing tree. We clothe ourselves all the time. In the 94 eons since I set up that wishing tree then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of a wishing tree. In the 7th aeon ago, 8 Kshatriyans named Susala were will-turners who had great strength, possessors of the 7 gems, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances. 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Kapparukkhiya Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Kapparukkhiya Thera is finished. The summary. Kua, Sāgata, Kaccāna. Udāyi, Rajasavaya. Adhimutta, Lasuṇa-dayaka. Āyāga, Dhammacakkika. Kapparukkhiya is the 10th. Verses 112. Quadna chapter, the 4th.